Big Blue Thumb Productions presents the Podlie Podcast. Here's your hosts, Podlie Bill, Podlie Cliff, and Podlie Paul.
And good evening. It is Podlie Podcast time, and it is episode 144. William Seltzer, the big winner tonight, 3,500 points. And Jeremy in there at second, even though he says first. He came in there second, Jeremy. Sorry about that.
The competition is fierce.
It is. And William Kirkland, good evening to you as well. So both Williams in early tonight.
The two Williams. Hello, Williams. Williams is. Meet the third William on the screen, of course. And, of course, Jernon, nice to see you, my friend.
Good to have you here tonight for sure, Jeremy. And both Williams as well.
And, and where's Andrea exactly? There lies the question. Is she putting my lovely, lovely, beautiful, unbelievably cute and wonderful godchildren to bed?
I was just going to say, I bet you she's busy. Being a mom.
Being a mother.
Yes. So I bet you that's what's happening there. So, hey, we're all here. Yes, it is. It is 144.
Jeremy.
Oh, we just lost Paul. Paul's
lost
having
Paulie.
Technical problems tonight with his computers not working properly and internet not working properly. So we just lost him. Anyway, so Cliff and I guess we'll keep going and we'll keep an eye out to see if Paul can get back in. Marvin, Paul was looking spiffy in his basement tonight, but he's gone. He's gone. So anyway, Cliff, I guess how was your week?
Not bad. Not bad. Paul's going to have to take over my nickname. My nickname all through my brick days was Spiffy Cliffy, as Jeremy could attest to. All the girls upstairs in customer service, because I used to be rather dapper and spiffy in my dress, so they called me Spiffy Cliffy, and that moniker has stayed pretty much for anybody that knows me from that time. So maybe it's time to pass the baton. I don't know.
Maybe Paul is back, so we'll see how long we can keep you here, Paul.
Welcome back.
Coming to you from the dank, dark recesses of my house. Sorry, guys. I'm at the basement of my house. I'm having connectivity issues.
There you go. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. You're here now.
Hi.
Hello.
Y'all look very handsome.
That's what Marvin Likeness just said about you. He said you're looking rather spiffy.
Yes.
Marvin, you're losing your sight.
Yeah.
And Jeremy says he sometimes misses the brick days. Time to wear suits to my purchasing job. Hey, Jeremy, right? It's funny. I wore a suit a little bit ago. Well, somewhat of a suit a little bit ago. And magically, my nickname resurfaced. How you like them apples after a decade or so? But anyway, all fun and games.
Spiffy Cliffy. You should have a T-shirt that says that, Cliff.
I know, right? I know. So
Spiffy Cliffy.
Spiffy Cliffy, that's right. That was a lot. That was like 2000. Oh my God, that was like 2007. And still to date, when I see some people from that time frame, that's the nickname that I've managed to retain. Not a bad one, because I've had some other nicknames which weren't so nice.
We probably all have.
No kidding, right? We probably all have, yeah. I made the mistake of playing. The actual title of the character was a guitar playing cowboy.
Right.
Probably one of the very first plays I ever did, and the character's name was Stubbs.
Yeah.
Believe me, that's stuck given my height.
Well, so then you basically have Stubbs 1, Stubbs 2,
exactly.
and Stubbs 3. I felt like the Brady Bunch there.
Oh, and Jeremy, sorry, we're on to nicknames now. My apologies. Jeremy says, first of all, he looks like $1 million in his suit, and he really does. And secondly, he says El Precipicio. That's a very long story in one sentence. I was taking Spanish, and everybody gets up and they say George, and then the instructor says Jorge, right? And then another guy gets up and says Richard, and the instructor says, Ricardo, right? So I'm thinking, oh, a nice, sexy name, right? So when it got to my turn, I stood up nice and proud, and I went Cliff. And the 26-year-old, rather brilliantly looking instructor says to me, I got nothing. No sexy name for Cliff. So I got
Yeah.
called Carlos for the entire levels until it was closing time at the end, and we all went for beers. And she come running up to me and she says, Cliff, I got it. She says, El Precipicio, meaning Cliff.
I seem to remember that story.
So freaking silly, I tell you. And so even that stuck for a bit. So yeah. There you go. So maybe you guys can regale us about nicknames as we move along here, since I took up all this just time talking about cheap nicknames.
Yeah. And hello, Nicole. And Laura said she almost forgot. How can you forget Monday nights, Laura?
Laura,
You've been here from the beginning.
I even posted to Podlie or not to Podlie on my Facebook page, and the answer is always that is no question.
It's probably because she's hungover.
Oh, did a little bit of elbow bending, did you?
Sunday?
Laura, happy belated birthday, Laura.
How was karaoke, Laura?
Yeah. There you go. And we all go silent.
Jeremy says, don't tell Andrea short jokes. They all go over her head.
Well, Jordan, look who else has joined us. Jordan,
unbelievable, the time traveler himself. Oh, sorry, that I shouldn't assume.
We shouldn't assume that.
Hello, Jordan. How are you?
A long time since we've seen you on a Monday night.
And William says, if it weren't for notifications, I'd probably forget as well. Plus daylight savings time. Oh, good excuse, William. That's awesome. Forgot about daylight savings time.
Yeah, that's true. But that happened last weekend.
Unbelievable.
William, if it had just happened like yesterday, then maybe we could say that would be the case. But it was a week ago, William.
It was a week ago, William.
Yeah. There you go. And welcome to the solstice too. Yes. There you go.
My God. There we go.
Well,
hey, spring solstice, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. And Jordan, it was nice. We said hi, and you're obviously not responding to us. So maybe you just popped on to say hi, fellas, and then left.
and he's probably in 2025 somewhere.
He's time traveling right now. Yeah. He
right.
just had that one moment. There was that one open moment where the portal opened up, and he was able
that's
to.
Right. It's almost like a Whitney Houston song. I mean, all over again.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, Paul, we might as well ask you while we still got you here.
Yeah,
Paul. How was your week?
That's all right. It was busy. It was good. Yeah. No, nothing to. Yeah, it was good. Just work, work. Yeah.
It was nice to see you got all dressed up for us tonight.
Oh yes, but
appreciate that.
I go home I go home from work and I have a quick bite, and then I got to pick up my son because it's his hockey year-end party tonight, and then come straight back here, and I'm on a podcast, so I haven't even had time to change out of my work clothes, which is
nice.
So busy day.
Hey, I jammed through time, put my supper in the oven, put supper for Leslie and I in the oven, and it should be ready just about when we're done.
What are we having tonight, Cliff?
Well, I made a vegetable medley, you see, and then cauliflower, zucchini, and I can't remember off the top of my head now. What else did I put in there? Radish. Oh, I love red radishes. And basically, I put them all in a big bowl, added some oil, mixed a bunch of spices, tossed, put it in a tray, and added some Korean barbecue. What do you call that sauce? I can't remember the name of it now. Right out of a bottle, so I can't take credit for the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Poured it right on top, put it on tinfoil, shoved it in the oven. That and a store-bought lasagna that I put in the oven as well. So nothing chef fantastic, but nonetheless, a little bit of home cooking and a little bit of fast food. Put it all together on a Monday night fare, right? Pretty good.
Does sound good. I must again miss the invite. I didn't check my email before the show.
Sure, you should have checked. Should have checked the messages, eh, Bill?
I was quenching my thirst with the whiskey. I felt a little dehydrated.
You felt a little dehydrated. Speaking of which, that's what I just had in this, and now it's time. I forgot about that. Hold on. I normally do this before anybody's listening, but listen right here. Ready?
That's nice.
Hold on, see if it can work. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good too.
Right out of a commercial, baby.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Look at that.
So for those,
That's
so
the thing of beauty.
yeah, and for those of you that maybe will have to, who won't see this all tonight or have to listen to it later on soundsugarradio.com, it's going to sound just like a commercial. The bottom
With the bottle opening and so for those not watching and just listening, that was a bottle of Fever Tree put into a glass jar, whatever, with lime. And we're not talking about what's mixed, right, Bill? We're not talking about like what's in it, right? Because that's a ridiculous question.
Yeah, no, I don't ask that anymore. I learned my lessons. Just the same thing as being dehydrated and drinking a glass of whiskey, thinking it was water. I don't talk about that anymore either.
You know what we should do is we should just start the show at 11 minutes, right where he cracks that bottle.
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
And unfortunately, Bill, we can't even diss Leslie Ann in real time about the quenching her thirst with the whiskey because she's not listening tonight because she's busy for the next couple of hours. But I'll make sure she listens to it afterwards.
I'm sure you will. Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate you bringing that forward. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, here we go. Like I said at the top of the show, and if you just joined us, it is episode 144. It's unbelievable that we've hit 144 episodes.
That's crazy, man. And speaking of that, Bill, how was your week?
Good. Again, kind of like Paul, pretty busy standard, work week with the day job. And of course, lots going on with Ravenwood. So, I'm always doing Ravenwood stuff and answering emails and sending emails and, the whole bit. And maybe I'll just throw this little plug out there. For those of you who have gone to the Beaumont Blues Festival in the past and are fans of the Beaumont Blues, well, you probably know that the Beaumont Blues Festival is the weekend before the Ravenwood Music Festival. So Ravenwood and Beaumont Blues have teamed up to sell a single ticket for both festivals. So for $199, and you can buy them through Beaumont Blues, through their ticket portal, $199 gets you a weekend pass to the Beaumont Blues Festival and to the Ravenwood Music Festival.
Jeez, man, that's $200 well spent.
$200 and you get to go to two festivals each weekend. So why not?
Can't beat that.
Anyway, just throwing that out there. But yeah, it was a good busy week, and lots happening and lots keeping us all busy as we know. So anyway, now that we hit 144 episodes, and for our audience, and we threw this question out onto our Facebook page. So we had a group discussion, the three of us, Paul, Cliff, and I, after our last podcast, discussing the Podlie podcast and, where do we need to go with it? And, we moved over to YouTube. We haven't seen any really growth in the subscriptions, a little bit, but not very much. And we're just trying to decide, what do we need to do? That's why we're asking our audience. So I thought the topic tonight would be just, let's talk about the podcast. Is there things maybe we need to do differently? Do we need to be on a different night, a different time? Would that make it easier for people? I know we have lost
a different platform, maybe, Bill?
Yeah, I know we've lost some of our Monday listeners because people have gotten busy on Monday nights, so they just can't tune in to be here live with us on Monday nights. I think they listen to it later, but they just can't be here for the live version of it. So just thought we would throw it out now that we have some of you here with us and maybe doing this in this live format. You can give us some suggestions or thoughts or maybe things you'd like to see, and take it from there. Cliff, Paul, you guys can jump in as well.
Well, so first of all, I want to say to those of you that are here tonight, because I'm on my cell phone, I can't see any of the comments. I can't see who is here tonight. I do obviously presume it our wonderful regular listeners. And first, before we continue, we want to thank you again for just the amazing support that you guys have given us for 144 episodes. It's been amazing. We don't want to lose you. We love you. We think you are not only tremendous supporters, but many of you are our personal friends. So we want to thank you for that. Now, what I want to just preface is we do want to grow this thing. We want to grow this thing with our friends, with our family, with your friends, with your family, this, that, and the other thing. So you're along the ride with us here, guys. So what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Help us to help you, quite frankly, and how we can grow this thing. That's all I kind of want to say. So first of all, I want to say thank you, and I just want to say let's keep this thing going, bigger and badder than ever.
You know what, Paulie? You guys, I would echo what Paul is saying in so many ways. Really appreciate you guys that show up every Monday night, and you know what? If it never gets any further than this, I've had such a great time. You know, these 144 episodes sitting here with my two friends on screen, and then all of you guys that chime in and you know, little quips here and there, and it's just a fun little gathering. My wife, Leslie, and way back when, like we're talking 2 years ago, she said, it's like you guys are at a pub and the three of you are sitting and talking, and then this person shows up and hangs out for a while, has a beer and leaves, and then that person shows up for a little while and hangs, and then these four people show up and have a beer and they hang for a bit and then they leave. And that's what this podcast is sort of like. Now, I like that. I like the fact that we get on here and we just sit and chat, and sometimes it gets, as you guys well know, sometimes it gets very serious, and I'm a serious person by nature, and yet obviously you all know I'm a freaking laughable guy and comic and all type of stuff, but I'm also a serious person, and sometimes we get serious and we get conversations going that are quite interesting, and you know, everything from you know, you can talk about the cliche, the poignant, and the current events, and the comical and the funny, and we make fun of each other and tease each other, and that's all fun and games. The fact of the matter is, the question that we have is the format something that is interesting enough to keep people interested? Is it, or do we start with topics? I mean, Laura's big on topics. You know, do we continue with topics and do we rigidly stick to topics? Do you want more controversy? I mean, I don't know if we can have more controversy, because often we all agree sometimes. I mean, I hope we disagree on a lot of things, because that way we can have a discussion and learn something from each other, and hopefully get to know each other a little bit better in disagreement. I think disagreement is a good thing. So do you want more controversial topics? Do you want current events? Do you want, like, I'd be really curious to know, you know, any kind of feedback in that arena, right? So what do you guys think?
That'd be great. Nicole says yes. It's like Cheers.
I like that.
Like, Norm. Yeah, I guess everybody's kind of thinking right now, as the comments have gone to a stop here, but I agree completely with both Paul and with what Cliff had said. And the one thing I do have to say, though, is with the angle that Paul has right now, at least we can see he's wearing pants. Yeah.
Hey, Paulie, nice legs, shame about the face. Sorry, that's a Boomtown Rats song. I cannot resist.
It is, yeah.
Nice legs, shame about the face.
That's right.
Tell me why I don't like. Never mind.
Mondays. I like Mondays because we get to do this.
I bloody well like Mondays.
So here's what I'm going to throw out to all of you. First of all, I think we should probably take this maybe step by step. And what I want to know first to all of you is what is the Podlie podcast to you, and what are we doing right? That's what I want to know at first. What are we doing right? Maybe we can dissect this a little bit. So what is the Podlie podcast to you, and what are we doing right? And I'd like everybody to think about that and kind of chime in. What do you guys think?
Well, and Paul, there's a couple comments. I know you can't see comments here. So no. Marvin said, I must admit, I miss liking other people's posts when we were on Facebook. Also, we had more side conversations, face green, smiling. Nicole says, oh, dude. Then Jordan Ward says, you guys get good engagement. I think of you. I'm thinking, I think if you want to grow, consider bringing in guests and stay consistent with your times. You should keep doing what you're doing for 10 years.
Jordan, that's a good comment, my friend. You know, the bringing in guests, I think that's definitely on the table. Staying consistent with times. Is Monday night a good night? I would really like a consensus on this particular question. If you guys are willing to humor us I would like a consensus on this particular question. Is Monday night the night that we should be doing this podcast? Or would it be better any other night of the week, Sunday night, whatever? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know.
Yeah, and Laura says she had to go shopping, but she's listening.
Listen, Laura, where is your commitment and dedication, dude?
For sure. Nicole says she wonders, she knows many consultants that run cooking classes at the same time on different platforms from Zoom to YouTube and Facebook. How about that? So we did do that for a while where we were running on YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that we moved to YouTube was based on a lot of the large podcasts that have large engagements and followers, etc., are on YouTube. More than they are on Facebook.
And not only that, Bill, I had some feedback from people that said it's easier to watch the podcast on television when you're sitting in your living room.
Yes. Yeah.
On
and
YouTube than it is to watch it on Facebook. Because on Facebook, you got to go and find a computer to be able to do it. Whereas if it's on YouTube, hey, you can just sit in front of your television when you're having some drinks or you're having some grub.
Yeah.
And watch it. So perhaps we got to do both. I'm not sure, but then I don't know how the comments section works.
Right. Well, I think if I remember correctly, when we were doing it before, we were getting comments in the comment section that were coming from both YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
On StreamYard? Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So depending on the platform that you were watching on, we were seeing it was whether it was a Facebook comment or a YouTube comment was popping in at the same time. But yeah, kind of from what I've looked at, probably I would say 85 to 90% of all the top podcasts, vloggers, etc., that are out there are on YouTube.
Or on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where they grow their audiences, etc. So that was one of the reasons we made the decision to move over YouTube off of Facebook because Facebook just doesn't. As Cliff says, YouTube gives you the opportunity to watch it on many different devices. It doesn't have to be just on a computer. So it opens that platform up as well.
See, I'm a big YouTube person. I watch a lot of debates and a lot of well, you guys know this.
Yep.
I watch a lot of debates. I watch a lot of podcasts, like a tremendous amount, and all of it is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right, because I can sit in front of my television and watch it, and I mean. It's no secret. My wife and I, we kind of behave like bachelors. We eat in front of the TV for the most part. We're just not that civilized people, right? So so we eat in front of the TV, and I tell you what, it's quite interesting when you're watching sometimes a long form debate like 2 hours, and you really engage with it, but you're sitting in the comfort of your living room. You're not at your desk at a computer.
It's nice to get away from that computer
right.
monitor sometimes. Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why we did it. Now, do we need to do both? Maybe that's the deal. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's something to think about. And Jeremy says, I do miss the engagement with other viewers, crosstalk. I'd love to see guests that are your everyday people with stories and experience. Marvin says Mondays are great for me. He's usually busy the rest of the week. Laura says I could comment better on Facebook. I'll give you that. Jeremy says every night is as bad as the next one for me.
Yeah, true enough. He's got 2 young kids.
Got 9 kids, yeah.
And hey, listen, you guys. I tell you what. You know what Jeremy says, and what and all of you say is that perhaps Facebook is better for commenting, and perhaps that is a way we got to go, but maybe we can stream it on YouTube as well. The fact of the matter is, if we streamed it on both accounts, Bill, you would be the best one to answer this. Can we manage both comment sections? Because I would like a time in the future where perhaps people can engage with the comments and we can engage as well. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Well, we would still see all of it. As I said, I believe we still will see all the comments that would come in from both platforms.
Right.
And it would basically look the same as they look to us now, other than you would see a Facebook icon instead of the YouTube icon. So if, for an example, Laura was watching on Facebook, we would see a Facebook icon by her picture. And if Marvin was watching on YouTube, we'd see the YouTube icon by his profile picture.
Right. And the other thing that came up, Bill and Paul will discuss this right online here, is about guests. Now, I'm all for guests. The only sort of caveat or question that I would have is that this is a pretty loosey-goosey podcast. I mean, we get on here and we just pretty much babble, right? So if we get a guest on here, they might not get a word in edgewise.
Yep. You may not.
Right? So do you think a guest on a show like this would fit in where we just sit and babble with this person and not interview them? There's enough. Okay, let me just say this real quick. There are enough podcasts out there where they get a guest and they interview the guest.
Yes.
There are lots, right? So what maybe, and I don't know if this is true or not, but what maybe separates this podcast is that we get on here and we have a chat about what we never know until we start. Sometimes, as Laura knows, and as Laura keeps us on our toes, we never even get to the actual topic at hand.
Or it takes us half an hour.
Right. So do you think that having a guest in this environment, do you think that's reasonable? Or do you think the guest is going to get pissed off because we got him on here and then we're not sort of interviewing them?
See, here's the thing, everybody. For Bill, for Cliff, and sorry, Bill and Cliff, if you don't agree with this, but this is kind of how I feel. We don't have an agenda. We don't have an agenda. I don't have an agenda tonight.
No agenda.
There's no agenda. Do you think if we have guests, and if I might paraphrase what Cliff is saying, do you think if we have guests, they would come on with an agenda, or would they be okay just being quote unquote loosey goosey with us
and themselves, just being who they are, right? Because that's who we are, Podlie.
Yeah.
Right, Bill?
Yeah.
Like I'm. For anybody who knows me, I will promise you this. What you see on here is completely WYSIWYG, meaning what you see is what you get. This is me. This is me in person.
Yeah. And
this is me on the podcast. And I would wager a guess that I can say the same thing for Bill and Paul.
Yeah. 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 And sorry, just as you guys are going, I'm just reading all the comments that are coming in as we go. So Jeremy mentioned Twitch. William said he was thinking the same thing. I've not done a lot of work with Twitch on the podcast side of things. Marvin said earlier he listens to all his podcasts on YouTube because it's easier to listen to the podcasts on YouTube.
I like what Jordan says there, Bill. He says, hey, Cliff, what if you just brought on a guest for a segment, like 10 minutes or so?
Yeah.
That could be an option.
The 100th show. Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, can I just say something real quick, Jordan? Yep. What would be really interesting to me is if we got a guy like Jordan, right? Jordan is a family man. You know, he's an artsy guy. He's a comedian. He does improv and so on and so forth. What would be interesting to me is if we didn't do a segment so much, but we got a guest like him on and said, hey, listen, you're joining the podcast tonight. We don't really have a topic. We're just going to have a chat. Is that kosher? Is that cool with you?
That's what I was just going to say. Rather than have a guest that comes on for a segment, we've done the interview shows before. We've done arts talk, this kind of thing. But just make it clear to your guest that, hey, we'd love to have you come on the podcast.
And come for the whole time.
Yeah, just to make you know, just so you know, we're not going to interview you, or hit you with any specific questions. We just want you to come on and introduce you as our guest for the podcast tonight, and you're going to join us in the conversation as we
exactly. And Bill, just to add to that, if you happen to be working on, let's say, a play, or if you happen to be working on a script, or if you happen to be working, doing whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the arts. Maybe
it could be anything.
Maybe you have a new business. Maybe I don't care what it is, but you come on here. And you come on here for the whole hour, and maybe we ask you, just like we ask each other at the beginning of the podcast, hey, Bill, how was your week? What you got going on?
Yeah.
Well, in the same vein, right, Bill?
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You ask Jordan, hey, Jordan, what's going on, my friend? Happy to have you here for the week, for the whole hour. What's going on in your life? And then maybe they can tell us about, hey, listen, I'm working on this play, or I'm working on this improv show. You should come check out my improv show. And then we basically have this same format, except with the new guest. What do you guys think of that? I mean, I know Bill and Paul are probably on the same page as me, because we've actually discussed this in some ways.
Yeah, you just again exactly what you said, Cliff. The guest comes on and they just become part of our conversation. So it's
Correct.
not, hey, how are you? Let's learn a bit about your background. Let's learn about your, we're not interviewing them in that as a interview type program, as a talk show program.
Exactly.
And so, and Nicole, by the way, just jumping back, Nicole said she feels having people on with no agenda would be great. That's just like Joe Rogan does, which is basically what Joe Rogan does. He has a guest on, but they just get into a full conversation. And yes, they do end up sometimes talking about what the guest and stuff does, but that's just how it works into things. It's not like Joe's sitting down, okay, I want to learn everything about what's coming up. What's this event? He doesn't do it that way. It's just a conversation, right?
And you know what? It's 100% what Nicole says, right? I mean, just imagine having Nicole on here, right? I mean, I know she works for a school. I know she does that Epicure stuff. I know she's into cooking. I know she's a foodie and so on and so forth. But she comes on here, the introduction.
Feel about electric cars.
Sorry?
You
say that again.
Like
you broke up.
What does just to hop on what Cliff says, but what does Nicole feel about electric cars?
Exactly, Paulie. 100%, my friend. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Russia and Ukraine. Do you know what I mean? Like something that all four of us know zero about, or some more than others about, or something that is completely unrelated to the
100%.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking at.
Dude, 100%. Okay, I agree with that 1,000% because Nicole can come on here and we can talk about what she's doing for the week. She's into Epicure, she's this, blah, 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 right? She's into food. But then she has her own opinions about all of the things that we like to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, Cliff. I was just going to say basically what happens is this person comes on, and for that hour, you are actually an honorary member of the Podlie podcast.
Of the Podlie podcast. 100%, Bill. 100%.
Yeah, we won't even really call you a guest. You come on for that hour, you're part of the Podlie podcast, and once we're done, we've had a good time, a good chat about whatever, like Paul said, whether it's about Russia and Ukraine or whatever the case might be. That's what we're talking about. Jordan gave us a thumbs up, by the way, in the he likes this idea, as does Jeremy, likes the idea as well.
Bill, I think you encapsulated it really well. You guys, I think Bill just summarized it in the best way possible, where you're not actually a guest. I mean, you are, but you're not actually a guest. You come on here. We treat you like a fellow Podlie podcaster.
You're a co-host.
We ask you about your week. We ask you to tell us what you're doing, and hopefully you get a little bit of promotion out of it. Yep. But that's not the idea. But the fact of the matter is our audience gets to know who Nicole is, or who Jordan is, or who Jeremy is, etc. And just you become a part of that week's Podlie podcast. Bill, I think you summarized it. I think you put it together. You and Paulie both summarized it and put it together really well.
Yep.
Yeah. And Nicole, by the way, Cliff, this is for you. Laura has usually nominated herself as the timekeeper, but Cliff, look at the time.
Oh my goodness me. I know really late. I got so excited. Listen, all of you Podlie podcasters and you Podlie peeps and you Podlie people out there, good evening and welcome to the middle of the podcast.
Even though it's about 3.5 minutes past.
Even though it's late. I got too excited, you guys. It was interesting discussion, so I got too excited.
Yeah, so I think that's what maybe something we should try for sure. Doing it on both platforms, I agree. The one thing that Nicole did bring up, which is true. So on the viewer's end, if we're on both platforms, the viewer will only see the comments on Facebook. They will not see the YouTube comments and vice versa.
Right.
So again, if I'm watching it on YouTube, I'll see all the YouTube comments, but I won't see any of the Facebook comments. So I can't talk back and forth because I don't know what Nicole said on Facebook unless we read it. And she won't know what I said on YouTube unless we read it. So that's the one drawback with that.
Okay, but Bill, on this comment section right here that you and I are looking at right now, will we see both comments? We
will, but the viewer will not.
Okay.
So again, if Nicole is watching us on Facebook on a Monday night and Marvin is watching us on YouTube, Nicole and Marvin will not see each other's comments.
Okay.
So you can't have that sidebar conversation. We would be reading them all the time, and then they'd say, "Oh, okay, so Nicole said this," and then Marvin said this, but they're watching on two different platforms, so they won't see each other's comments. So that's the one drawback with being on both platforms. Whereas here, everybody sees everybody's comment, right?
How does that strike you guys then in the comment section? So, because what happens is we're gonna have a fragmented conversation, right? Because If
Yeah.
I see a comment show up on Facebook and I respond to it verbally, and then I see another comment show up on YouTube and I respond to it verbally, there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect there. Is that going to be a problem? That's the question.
Yeah.
Everybody
This way,
quiet.
at least everybody sees everybody's comments, so they can still have our conversation. Yeah. So everybody
Laura
can
says,
still
"I'm
see
sorry,
there
I'm
and have
distracted today."
our conversation. Well, Laura, you're shopping.
Bill, you're cutting out, my friend.
Decided to go shopping. Oh, am I cutting out now?
Yeah, a little bit.
How about that? Am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, that's the one drawback for sure is we need to be able to I think it's good to have where we can have everybody commenting at least in the same column so they can all talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, straight up question then. Should we go back to Facebook? I mean, it's not my first choice because I prefer to build it on YouTube.
Which, again, as I said, I prefer YouTube as well, simply because majority of all the big podcasts, etc., this is where they built their platform is on the YouTube platform. Just because Facebook is not known as a podcast type, place to stream your podcast to, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, I would prefer to build it on YouTube. That would be my first choice.
Sorry, Cliff. Nicole says, we could always meet on.
on what day, Nicole? 1, 2, 3, Saturday. Oh, Nicole, I love it. You feed my accent. You feed my eccentricities.
William says YouTube is a better platform to grow with. Nicole says YouTube is a much better platform to grow on as well.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, and Jeremy, definitely we'll get you on here at some point as well, for sure, to be an honorary Podlie, as we'll try and get.
Oh yeah, Jeremy says he'd like to be an honorary Podlie. Well, you already are an honorary Podlie, but we'd be happy to have you on the show, as we did during the 24-hour marathon.
Yeah, for sure. And
including Nicole, including Laura, I don't know if William Kirkland actually got on there, but he brought his beautiful guitar for me to play. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think we had Jordan on the whole bit. So definitely we'll get people on, and we'll find people that maybe aren't here viewing tonight, get them on as well as honorary Podlies on Monday nights as well. So I think that will be nice. And I think the nice thing about doing that is, even if we are bringing on honorary Podlies, whether they're people that are all watching us tonight and watch us regularly, or if it's somebody who's not that familiar with the podcast, but we bring them on, they may bring more friends on after they've been on the podcast. So there becomes more subscribers and more people wanting to watch. And because I say, hey, I was on this great podcast on the Monday night and I didn't get interviewed for once. I got to just chat. We chatted about everything, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you know what, you guys, this is something I want to actually really kind of emphasize to everybody listening right now. There are a ton of podcasts out there that interview people, and I like that. No doubt about it. Like you look at a Rogan or a Rubin Report, or all these people. They interview people, and I respect that, and I absolutely love it. But I tell you something, there are not a lot of people that just sit on a podcast and have a chat.
No.
So in my mind, it would be awesome to have a person come on with there's no agenda, there's no interview per se. We just have a chat. And sometimes what they're doing becomes interesting and it becomes about them. Just like Podlie, like last episode, he was on he talked about being on the Junos, and the episode literally became about him. And that's awesome, right? And so whatever we're doing, or like if Jordan comes on and Jordan's doing this particular improv show, and I mean, he's a great improv guy, and he's got his own company called Good Improv, and all of a sudden, if he's doing something interesting and everybody starts talking about it, then it becomes about him, and that's okay. But we're not interviewing him; he's just part of the podcast,
right? And we're still giving that guest, whomever they are, an opportunity to promote themselves, but
Of course, yeah.
we're opening up to, just like you said, any conversation. So, we hear a little bit, that maybe they talk about, like you said, Paul, like a show or something that's coming up, but then it gets into this whole sidebar conversation. Like we talked, I don't know, we're talking about going to space, would you ever, and it breaks off into that conversation, or it breaks into something more serious or whatever. So we're hearing that person's point of view that's other than what they do for a living. We're actually hearing their personal point of view on something. And
even education, right? Because I mean, if somebody doesn't know that like Jordan does improv, and all of a sudden, maybe I ask the question, hey, what's the hardest part about improv?
Yeah.
Now he gets to tell us, and perhaps we all learn something about improv. Right. Yeah. If I'm talking to Nicole and Nicole says, "Oh yeah, I'm the Epicure stuff." Well, maybe I can ask her a question about that. And now all of a sudden, we all learn something about the Epicure, right? So in terms of that, I think it's a great idea. But there's enough interview shows out there, and I don't want to make it into an interview show if possible.
Well, like you said, you can have that, little opening question, so you learn a little bit about the person's background, but then you get away from the interview side of it, and then you just start talking and get them to jump in on a topic that maybe has nothing to do with what they do for a living, right? Yeah. And it becomes like us. Now they're part of the conversation at that point, because we're discussing something that has nothing to do with what they do for a living, and
nothing to do with what we do, nothing to do with anybody.
Right. And whether it's
just the topic, just the subject.
True. And whether it's, comedy, like I've said, or it's something very serious and it becomes a debate or whatever the case might be, but we're letting that person just be themselves, not just the business person or actor or whatever that they are on here. Just, we're opening up just into personal side of things. So that's where and
100%, Bill. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? The Cliff that you see on here is the Cliff that's real life. This is not a performance. This is not acting. I mean, it might be a performance in that before I get on the Podlie podcast, I might be not so energetic. I might be depressed. I might be whatever all that stuff is, the normal human stuff. But when I get on here, it's still Cliff. You're not seeing an actor. You're not seeing somebody promoting something. You're just seeing Cliff. And I can promise you that I can say the same thing about Bill and Paul.
Yes.
So to have another person on here who's just that person who happens to be working on this.
Yeah, they happen to do, obviously, like all of us, they have something else that they do for a living.
Correct.
Right? So yeah.
Couple of comments. First of all, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to first of all just play devil's advocate, and I'm going to ask not only you, Bill, not only you, Cliff, but I'm going to ask everybody that's wonderfully joining us tonight. Do you think that this is a sustainable idea? That's
good question.
That's question number one. Is this a sustainable idea? We're at 141. Can we do at least
144?
We're at 144. Can we do 144 with this next potential idea that we are discussing right now? Question number two. Actually, just a comment number two. For all of for those of you that are not facilitators for this podcast, because Bill's a facilitator, Cliff's a facilitator, I'm a facilitator. I don't call it a co-host. We're facilitators. Why don't you guys start thinking of people that we can get on this podcast?
There are a bunch on here right now, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
and each and every one of them can have their time.
Correct. Yeah.
For example, again, I'm going to use Laura, who works, who has just started a job at an animal shelter. I'm sorry, Laura, I don't know if it's an animal shelter or a vet or veterinary clinic. Well, would your veterinarian like to come on? For example. So think of outreaching ways, folks, that we can keep this going for another 144. That's what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah. And the formats are up for discussion as well. Jeremy talks about Discord. Discord is a fantastic platform that's up and coming. And Rumble is a fantastic platform that's up and coming. So we can talk about all of these things. I would just love it if we move forward saying, hey, listen, I think if we get, Nicole on here, and she talks about a little bit about what she's doing. And then we just have a discussion about what we normally do. There's no script. There's no nothing. Sometimes we don't even get to our topic. I think that's a great idea. Honestly, I do.
Yeah. And that's just a reminder, Laura, that we don't have a script. I know we've talked
Yeah,
about
Laura.
That. I was just another comment that I saw here. I thought, Laura says she works at the Humane Society, which is great. Marvin says he would talk too much about himself. But Marvin, here's the thing. We would get you involved in whatever conversation we're having. So we can quickly turn that.
Oh, yeah.
Another 142.
I was just going to say, Bill, just to reiterate what Marvin was saying, those who are only listening later, Marvin said that he would probably talk about himself too much. Ha, ha, ha. Well, don't worry about it. We'll bring you back. That's what Bill said. We'll bring you back.
We'll turn that around there, Marvin. That's nothing to worry about there for sure. So, I think, and whether it's sustainable, as Paul has said, that was the comment I saw. William Kirkland said he thinks it could be sustainable to do this. Then again, there might be the odd Monday night where we just don't have a guest. Maybe somebody's not available.
And I think we're going to have a few of those, right? Really.
And that's going to happen, right? Where it just doesn't, we just can't get somebody on or for whatever reason, or at the last minute they cancel. That can very well happen as well. An hour before somebody has something come up, or they can't make it, or they're not feeling well, whatever the case might be, and they have to cancel. But definitely something that we can look at doing for sure as we move into episode 145. Marvin says, I think we need more cookies. So if you remember,
need more cookies.
Do you remember that way back at the beginning when we were doing this, even before we went to video?
Yep.
That we always had cookies.
We definitely need more cookies.
We were sitting in the same room doing the show at that point.
And hey, Bill, speaking of sitting in the same room doing the show again, I would love to get back to that during the summer sometime.
Yeah.
Cliffy, you speak of my language. I was thinking.
Speak of the language. There we go.
Yep. And it's easy to do in my studio space. So
exactly. So keep that in mind, guys. I'd love to get back to doing that. Certainly on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah.
And
William, sorry.
Bill.
Didn't mean to interrupt you there again. William says flexibility is a key. Well, William, I have to be careful that I don't want to pull anything. Like if I pull a hamstring or something, now I'm in trouble. So I don't know what you're talking about being extra flexible. Paul, I don't know how flexible you are, or Cliff, but yeah. Anyway, just had to jump on
that. The thing is, you guys, I tell you what, I know we lost some people on YouTube. I get it. Honestly, I do. I think YouTube is the platform, and possibly Rumble, and maybe even Discord. I don't know. Rumble is up and coming. YouTube is definitely a prime sort of building format. So I like that. I don't know about Facebook. Facebook seems to be, okay, I'm going to get a lot of pushback for this. Maybe Facebook is kind of old. It's kind of legacy stuff, right? So I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Cliff, I keep kind of going back to YouTube because all of the podcasts or vlogs and things that I watch are all on YouTube. And, lots of them that I watch have, obviously thousands and thousands of subscribers, and they've built their whole platform on YouTube.
Right.
And it just seems to be that place. And go ahead, Cliff. Sorry to jump in there again.
No problem. I agree. You said what I was thinking anyway. I would prefer to do it on YouTube only because it is a progressive sort of platform. Where I think Facebook is, somebody's going to kill me for saying this, but I think Facebook is on a decline.
Right? No, I totally agree. I think
Facebook is on a decline, honestly.
Like I've said before, I very rarely, I don't post really anything on Facebook anymore other than when I'm promoting. So for Ravenwood, you'll see me promote Ravenwood stuff. But that's really all I ever use it for now. I don't go on there so I don't even promote personal stuff on there, hardly any anymore.
Anything, And I'm with Jeremy, right? Jeremy says YouTube is great for live stream, but there's something about he likes about Discord. Discord is a really good platform. Don't get me wrong; it really is a good platform. So is Rumble. Rumble is an up and coming platform. I don't know how we use all of these platforms. We're gonna have to discuss that.
Yeah,
but I think the platform. Okay, let me just say this. I think the platform is going to be secondary to the format of the show.
Yeah.
So let's discuss the format of the show as we have in the last little while, where perhaps we have a guest on every show or every show that we can, and then we just have them come on and be an honorary Podlie. I think I really like that. I think
Yeah.
that's a
I
I think
think
that's a very reasonable option.
And I totally agree with you, Cliff. I think it's more about the format of the show than it is the platform, really.
Yeah, and
Uh,
the fact of the matter is, if we Bill, if we sorry, man. The fact of the matter is, if we keep it in terms where we're like this, where we're not interviewing people and so on and so
Yep.
forth, because there's a lot of shows like that, you guys.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, it's really, in many ways, somewhat overdone.
Hmm.
Whereas I don't know that too many podcasts are like ours, where we just get on here and we have a chat.
We just
Right.
talk, yeah. And again, Discord, Rumble, I've heard of them. I haven't done a lot of research on them. Going back to one comment Marvin made here earlier. He said Discord is being slammed hard for their bad tactics. So I don't know what that means because I haven't researched.
No,
enough.
no, they're being
So-
slam billed because people don't want Discord to succeed. There's a reason
Yeah.
for that.
So that I don't, again, like I haven't looked at both platforms
Yeah,
enough
yeah,
to even comment on that. Laura says, I think you lost people because of COVID.
Agreed.
Now that COVID, which we did, I'm sure we did. And we are all getting back to that so-called normal thing again. Jeremy said, Laura says this is to Jeremy, that she gets irritated with Discord coding. And Nicole says, I feel this is a good comment as we get in the latter part of tonight. I feel like you need to think about this like the movie. If you build it, they will come. Field of
Agreed,
Dreams.
Nicole. Agreed 100%.
Yeah, totally
Sure.
agree with that for sure.
Anyways, for 144 episodes, right?
Say again, Polly.
That's what we've been trying to do for 144
Right,
episodes.
right.
They will come. Well,
And the fact of the matter is, Polly, we had a bigger audience at one time,
we did. Mhm.
right? But a lot of the people, or not a lot, but some of the people left. Now, why did they leave? There's a whole bunch of questions for that. Okay, and honestly, if they left because of the opinions posted by the three of us or people on the show, I don't care.
Mhm.
Because they're just opinions. If people are not interested in engaging with opinions of others, I don't think they belong on this show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, we are open people. We like to talk about opinions. We like to talk about issues, and we all have our own opinions, and we appreciate when other people have their own opinions.
Yeah.
So if anybody has left this show based on commentary from the three of us or commentary from anybody on the chat line because they didn't like something we said, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm happy you're gone. That's okay with us.
Right.
Okay. Well, with me, I should speak for myself.
Yeah. No, I agree with that as
Right.
well.
The fact of the matter is, we are three people exploring the world with other people who are on the text messaging and joining us. And that exploration sometimes will yield things that are disagreeable and agreeable. And that's the way life is. So we have opinions, we're willing to share them, and those who like them and those who don't like them, all are welcome to come and have a discussion with us.
And we're giving those that are with us the opportunity to disagree and provide
100%, Bill. 100%. So if we lost anybody based on speaking our opinion, I'm sorry about that. I wish you wouldn't go, but I understand and I wish you well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
The fact of the matter is, I'm going to speak my opinion whether you like it or not.
and that's why we're doing the show.
Exactly.
And I do know some people like Deborah Hughes-Gar, for an example, that does a lot of pottery lessons and teaching on Monday nights. So it just doesn't work for her to tune in. She can when she can, but she very, rarely has the opportunity to jump in. Tammy used to be with us, but I think she has a radio show she does on Monday nights or something she's tied up with. So
Yeah, but
people
Bill, where is the commitment and dedication?
I know. If you have a pottery class, Deborah Hughes-Gar, and you're tuned in, put us on in your pottery class, and the
Exactly.
students can all tune in. So
I'm kidding, Deb.
Earl on your pottery wheel, Deb.
yeah, we're getting a thumbs up from William Kirkland about everything that we've said. Nicole says yes, and that brings us all together to be a community.
100%. 100%. The fact of the matter is, nobody on this podcast, I promise you, not Bill, and I promise you, not Paul, and I promise you, not me, will disregard you if you have an opinion outside of what we hold. Okay, I promise you that that's not going to happen. This is just a discussion, and that's all it is. It doesn't have to be you against this or this opinion against that opinion. Hey, man, I hold some pretty serious opinions, and I'm sorry about that, but those are the opinions I have. And if in discussion I could change those opinions, hey, bonus, right?
Okay, so boys, we're down to 5 minutes left in the podcast. We appreciate each and every one of your guys' opinions on this. Cliffy, Bill, what do you want to do? Are we going to discuss this off air? Post something for our friends? Are we going to make a decision now in the last 4 minutes? What do you guys want to do?
I don't know. I think it's probably a discussion that the three of us have off the podcast, and figure out what our next step will be for next week.
Okay. People that have been helping us this episode and have been so gracious enough to present their opinions. When should they expect an answer on the Podlie podcast, one way or another, do you think, boys?
Well, I'd like to answer that, Paulie, in saying that in sort of repeating what I said earlier. Let's get our format down first, and then we'll decide on the platform. Like, for instance, Marvin says he will try to find some information for you, Cliff, because I know you like to see the source. That's awesome, Marvin. I appreciate that. So what I would like to do with Paulie, with you and Bill and myself and everybody listening currently, is try and see if the format of having a guest and talking, and as we've discussed for the last hour, if we can get the format down, I think then the platform discussion should come after that, if that's okay with you guys.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, I think it's more important we get the format down than being overly concerned right now with the platform. And I like I said, I'm still a proponent of YouTube myself, but if there's other opportunities, then that's kind of what we have to look at. But I think what we'll do is, off air, maybe the three of us will be getting together and we'll discuss it, and then we'll have for episode 145, we'll have let you all know if we have honorary Podlie coming on to join us and see how that all plays out.
And in the meantime, if anybody, hey, the conversation goes on, you guys. The conversation doesn't have to stop.
No,
go to the page. Yeah, go to the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Comment on there and etc. And we read. I read all the comments. So comment on there if necessary, and the conversation goes on. And perhaps next week or the week after, we're in no hurry. All right.
Yeah.
We're in no hurry. We've done 144 episodes. You've seen we're here most of the time. Sometimes we're not, but most of the time we're here. And I like this podcast. I think it's a good podcast. I think it's a great little sort of hour get together, and I would love to continue it as long as it has some semblance of meaning, because meaning is important to me. So if it has some meaning, I want to continue and I want to grow it. So if that makes any sense.
And we'll wrap it up here with Nicole saying thank you so much, lovelies, for being amazing. Marvin says, have a great week, Podlies. William says, have an awesome week, everybody. That was William Seltzer. William Kirkland says, have a wonderful evening and week ahead, everybody. So, hey,
thank you for coming.
145. Thanks for all hanging out and having this discussion with us. And we will be back next Monday with episode 145, but we'll let you all know how that's going to look like.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you all.
Stay happy.